2006 Mazda3, typical little bumper scuff. It's popped it out of the retainer. It's really common for the Mazdas. I'm going to refinish the whole bumper for the customer, so there's a couple other bumps and scrapes and rock chips. So I've got pretty well this area to fix, and then make sure it fits back in here. But that's not the only problem on this car. This is the passenger rear dog leg. This is right behind the rear door. Pretty typical pillar impact. So it does extend all the way over the wheel, and it goes under the bumper a little bit. That's really common. Pretty typical hit from the underground parkade. The door is damaged pretty badly. Looking at the side molding, it's dented in quite a ways, way over an inch. And the damage is not just isolated to here. The bottom has some extra damage. This is all bulged out here. The whole dog leg's in probably a full inch at least. Quite a gap opening to the door. It's supposed to be like this, and it opens up way big down here. Now on the door there's some upper crown damage where the impact was here, so it's actually dented up in here. So the whole door, the damage is about that large, half the door. So basically this calls for a blend into the front door because the color has to be taken so far up into this area, so that's not enough room. But there's also a dent here. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is pretty large in here. It's a bunch of damage. The bottom is okay. So we have right from the bumper corner over the wheelhouse, dog leg, rear door, pretty considerable. Most shops would actually want to toss this door in a recycle bin, or at least reskin it. Front half of the door is okay. I can blend within, no problem. I can keep my color all within. But all that's remaining is a front fender since I'm doing the damage on the bumper. Looking at the finish of the front fender, it's pretty substandard. The shine is pretty minimal. It's definitely been refinished, and there's a bunch of issues with it. All the bodywork and painting will just start from the bumper. I'll go over the fender again, refinish it, fix the front door, rear quarter. Pretty big job. It's going to take a lot of hours, especially back here. That's going to take some patience, because you can do a bunch more damage to the door if you overwork it. Been a pretty slow and patient progress here. I used the tower to pull much of the dog leg. The gaps are actually getting there slowly. Unispotter, slide hammer, got the lever bar just to work things slowly. Everything's kind of stretched, so just have to work slowly not to stretch it anymore. It's just going to be impossible to fix. Now the door has come a long ways. That molding is still a bit of a banana, but it's come out a lot. So we still have a big oil canyon low spot. So we're just gonna have to work the metal really slow. Find out where the stress is, which is up in the crown a little bit. This area is actually holding this area in a little bit. And of course on the bottom, there's a bit of a crown. That can be slowly tapped down, and just want to get the body line where the body molding is as straight as possible. All the other little things can be just filled in and blocked later, but we don't want to be putting that much body filler in this door. So up here I'm going to release some of this pressure from inside. It just gives me a bit more metal to work with, so this can move out on its own. Now the dog leg came okay. This big crown on the bottom I still have to work. That'll release a whole bunch of pressure, but the gaps are getting pretty decent. couple of holes I have to weld up from the Unispotter. There's quite a bit of pressure on the clamp, so it's easy to tear the sheet metal. The metal is pretty thin on these cars, so just have to be patient. That's about as far as I can work this panel. The sheet metal these days is very thin. It's really easy to overwork it and just tear it all up and have it full of holes, which is going to be a corrosion problem. The gap is pretty decent. From here it's going to be body filler. This molding came out really nice actually. It was bowed in so much, but it's not bowed in at all anymore. This whole panel came out really nice without stretching it. I worked out the upper crown, so this just a fair bit of blocking and just a little bit of filler. There won't be much filler in the door either. It'll just be in the center dog leg section. I can concentrate on the other small dings. I'll work those out. I've got the door panel and handle and mirror off now, so I've got access to the inside of the door. We can do that, and I'll take the side moldings off before I prime it. We'll have to use a body filler to finish the work. Metal finishing 20 gauge, 22 gauge steel like this, it's not going to happen. It's paper thin. Usually I don't show the body filler application. Metal finishing a Mazda3 with this type of damage, it's just not going to happen. There will be body filler. Doesn't matter who fixes the car. This area has been worked out pretty good. There's not a whole lot more you can do with this. It's getting pretty thin and it's going to start tearing up. From here we're going to apply a thin coat of short hair fiberglass. Bodywork's pretty well complete on this Mazda3. There's a lot of blocking and just keep working it. It was pretty warped, so it's not just fixing one dent, it was several small dents, and the rear door was pretty bad. So it looks like there's a lot of body filler on it, but it's not. It's just very, very thin. Just a finish coat and then blocked out. The rear door was pretty rough shape, but the bondo's not that thick. Just a regular magnet, it's no problem. Even on the dog leg here, it's probably thickest right about here. No problem with that. Sticks everywhere. Not a big deal. Door gap is nice and even all the way down to the bottom. Usually I don't show vehicles in body filler because a lot of people want to comment on how much bondo there is, but reality is it's not a lot of filler. Now some may comment that there's filler going on top of the paint. It's ideal to have your filler just on bare steel, basically staying within like this. It does overlap in a few spots. It's kind of necessary on a job like this when you're blocking. And this car's been repainted, so there's multiple layers of paint. It really all adds up to making a choppy panel, so sometimes you have to take your finishing filler and overlap onto the paint. It's not a big deal as long as you have a fairly smooth finish underneath and not add filler into really heavy scratches like 40 grit or 80 grit. 180 is probably ideal. This will get masked out, and then we're going to put a high build primer on this. With damage this extensive, we'll block down the first 3 coats of primer and reprime it, then final block it for final prep. This is my first 3 coats of primer, cured with the heat lights, then blocked down, checking everything again. I didn't see anything too obvious, so I'll reprime it and then it'll be ready for final prep tomorrow. It's now in the final prep stage. Final sand it and final mask it. I've decided I'm gonna just go straight through and do this fender. It had a really bad paint job on it. So I'll final sand it, and then we'll have a nice transition from the bumper. I'm also doing the front bumper on this. It's off the car. Transition straight into the fender, and we'll just do the whole side. So from here on, I'm not going to tape anymore. I'll just seal up the bare spots, start putting my color on, 3-4 coats of the 22B carbon gray, and clear coat it. The upper moldings I'm going to leave on. Somebody's tried to take them off before and it's starting to get all uneven. And if I take them off again, they may not sit back in. This whole side was painted before. It was kind of a low budget, especially the front fender was really bad. You can see where they actually masked side moldings. Big edge. This lap just pops right off, but they decided to actually paint it, or paint around it, mask it. So it leaves a big thick edge and texture. You can see how bad the clear was on it. This is after it's sanded and it still has a bunch of texture. So I'll take that down some more. And then it's assembly and delivery. It's the next morning. Turned out okay. The only thing was there was some clear in my gun that seemed to have gelled a little bit, and it spit a few things, a couple of clusters, and it made the clear coat a little bit orange peely because the gun wasn't functioning 100%. So what I'm doing right now is just giving this a wet sand and polish. I'm just going to take out any of the bits I have in there and take out some of the orange peel. It's a bit of a job to do that actually, but I can't let the car go out with a bunch of stuff in the paint. So this was wet sanded with various grits of paper, left on the first two stages of the cut polish. So that's improved things considerably. All the big bits are gone and I've taken down some of the orange peel, so now it's much better than factory and definitely 10 times better than the paint job that was on it initially. This car is ready for delivery. Customer's on his way. Overall, this turned out really nice. Happy with that. It's a pretty respectable repair for all the damage it had. Now the flare you can see in here, this little uneven line, is actually a body line. The door flares out of the edge. That's why you get that bit of a distortion. That's how it's supposed to be. The door is pretty straight. And the polishing really helped to get maximum shine. It's a really nice finish. Front door, pretty good. It was all warped and kicked in around the handle area. Quite a bit of body work done here. And then the front fender was just basically a blend. Just take the color through. The bumper, that's all normal. The entire thing.